Hello, my dear students. This class is for BA third semester optional English. In this class, we shall discuss a poem, The Lotus Eaters, written by Alfred Lord Tennyson. That is Alfred Tennyson, who is a very famous Victorian poem. So let us begin with the short summary of this poem. So, The Lotus Eaters by Alfred Tennyson is a famous poem of the Victorian period. That is, the Victorian period is a period in the history of English literature from the year 1832 to 1901 or up to 1890. Then the poet found inspiration from Homer's Odyssey and wrote this poem. So the poet's inspiration to write this poem is a famous epic written by Homer, that is Odyssey. Then the poem is based on an episode of the hero's wanderings into the troublesome world. So this poem is based on, or the material for this poem is taken from an episode or an incident of the hero's wanderings into the troublesome world. Now, this poem depicts the sufferings as well as the mental state standing between hopelessness and death. So, this poem speaks about, or this poem depicts the suffering as well as the mental state of the mariners, which stands between hopelessness and death. Then, in the beginning of the poem, that is, the poem begins with Odysseus commanding his men to have courage and they will soon find a shore on which to land. Means Odysseus and his mariners are sailing on the sea for a long period of time, and his sailors are very much tired of their life in the sea, and so their leader, that is Odysseus, commands his men, that is his sailors, to have courage or to be courageous, and he also assures them that they will soon find a shore on which to land. They do so almost immediately, and it enchants them with its otherworldly beauty. Means as soon as the leader, that is Odysseus, assures them that they will find a land, immediately or quickly they land on a particular piece of land, and that land is so attractive or so enchanting because it is very beautiful. That is, because of its otherworldly beauty, that land enchants or attracts the sailors. Then on that particular land there are valleys, snowy mountains and cliffs that are covered in streams. So the land on which Odysseus lands along with his sailors is full of valleys, it is full of mountains, cliffs, and there are so many streams flowing on that particular land. While the men are looking at their surroundings, the lotus eaters appear. Means when these men of Odysseus are looking at their surroundings, quickly some people known as lotus eaters means those people who eat the lotus plant, that is lotus eaters, who are the native people of that land. So these lotus eaters appear there and they deliver to the men branches covered with lotus flowers and fruits. So in simple words, as soon as Odysseus along with his sailors land on that particular land or lands on that particular land, the native people of that land, that is lotus eaters, they appear and they deliver the branches covered with lotus flowers and fruits to Odysseus and his men. Then these men eat these fruits, that is lotus fruits and lotus flowers. All but Odysseus, means Odysseus alone does not eat lotus fruits and flowers, but those who eat these fruits and flowers, they fall under the empty spell of the land, means they are under the spell of that particular plant or the flower. They believe that they no longer want to continue their quest homeward. So, under the spell of lotus flowers and fruits, these sailors no longer have a wish to continue their journey towards their home, and they would rather stay on this particular land or island where they do not have to worry about making their way back to the fatherland. Means, in simple words, after eating lotus flowers and fruits, the men of Odysseus have no wish to continue their journey to home, and rather they would like to stay on this land forever. So this is the first part of the poem. Then in the second half of the poem, which is made up of a choric song in which the men describe all the reasons they want to remain on the island. So this poem is divided into two parts. In the second part, which is known as a choric song, the men of Odysseus, they describe all the reasons, or they state the reasons why they want to remain on the island. So they do not think that it is fair that they should have to labor their whole lives while no other being is forced into the same fate. So Odysseus's men argue that they should not labor for the whole life, because they think that no other creature or no other being is forced into the same fate, or no other creature works as hard as human beings, and so they think that there is no point in laboring hard or working hard the whole life, and instead they would like to continue their stay on this particular island. Then they also argue that as humans, this is what their lives consist of, and they no longer want to take part, means they no longer want to take part in their life. They also confess that what they want most is a life in which they relax until their death. So simply they want to lead a relaxed life, or they want to lead such a life in which there are no hardships, and that life they are enjoying presently on the island, and so they do not want to return to their fatherland. And they confess it that what they want most is a life in which they relax until their death. Simply they want to have a relaxed life. They want to live as a leaf does, simply existing and then dying when it is their time. So instead of laboring hard, they simply want to exist on that island, or they simply want to exist in the world, and they do not want to do any hard work, or they do not want to labor. So they just want to live like the leaf of a plant. So simply the leaves of a plant exist and they die when it is their time. So this is how they want to lead their life. Then the men state, or the men, that is the Odysseus's men also argue that they are head towards death through a life that is nothing but misery. So they think that life is full of misery, and they are heading towards death, or they are living a very miserable life, and they would rather die now than to have worked their whole life. So instead of working whole life and dying, they would like to die now on this particular island after enjoying the life. So the men do make sure to mention their wives and the homes they are abandoning. So they are also aware of the fact that they have abandoned their wives, their sons and their homes, but they believe that their families will be better off without them by this point. So they think that they left their families a long ago, and it is quite possible that their families would be in a better position without them at this point, and that is why they do not want to return to their fatherland, and they do not want to again mingle, or they do not again want to join their families and disturb them. So instead of that, they would like to continue to stay on the island and enjoy careless life there, or carefree life on the island. So life has moved on, and their return would only cause more problems. So they think that life has moved on since they left their village, their family, and if they returned to their family, it is quite possible that it would disturb the family life of their family members, and it would only create problems. So instead of returning, they would like to continue to stay on the island. So this is what they argue. This is what Odysseus's men or the sailors argue. So they are content to live as they believe the gods do. So they are very much satisfied, or they are very much content to live as they believe the gods do. They will lay in their fields of lotus as the gods do in their valleys of asphodel, and look out on human misery. So they would like to lie, or they would like to live permanently on the island of lotus eaters. So they will make no difference, or they will make no effort to intervene or help. So in this way, the poem concludes with the men stating once more, reassuring one another that their wonders are truly finished. Means they no more want to wander, they no more want to sail in the sea, because they don't have any hope, any desire to return to their fatherland, and they think that their wandering or their journey has finished, because hereafter they would like to stay on the island of the lotus eaters instead of returning to their fatherland. So this is the short summary of this poem, The Lotus Eaters. Thank you.